Yo, what's going on, guys? Jared here. Today we're going to be talking about Ryu-Ge. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it, but it's the third deck out of Crossover Breakers. And yeah, I know I said in the community post that I am not going to be talking about this deck, but I feel like I just have to. It's so frustrating about it, and I'm gonna break it down a little bit more, and explain why it's so frustrating in this deck experience and deck building and combos and mixing it and stuff like that. But so yeah, if you want to talk about it, leave in the comments what your thoughts on this deck, because it's just I can't get it to work the way I want it to, or in really any way to that is feasible in my opinion. But before we jump into that, I want to make a quick announcement. I now am sponsored by Shipping Shield. I have a referral code down below for Shipping Shield. For those of you who don't know, I have been selling cards on TCG Player and eBay for years, and I have always used these guys for years, and now it's really awesome to be sponsored by a product that I actually use. So yeah, if you guys are selling cards, you need to protect your trading cards, and you are moving them through the mail, these are an excellent source of protection over your standard top loaders. So again, I have a referral code down below, and yeah, hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so obviously I'm not going to have a deck profile for this. I just want to go over the cards and talk about them and just kind of break it down a little bit and why it is so frustrating. So as you saw earlier, like I said, I made this community post about talking about it, how it doesn't even like warrant its own existence in other archetypes as well, for how bad they are and why I can't. It just it's not even exciting because it's just so much worse. And I want to break that down now. So before we actually, I guess, break it down, just general, very quickly, I want you to understand what these cards do. I'm going to paraphrase the hell out of them because these things have so much text, it's ridiculous. Okay, Ritual Pendulum Monster. When it's in the when you pendulum, put it in the pendulum zone, pop itself, search. When when it's in the extra deck face up, if you pop a Ryu-Ge monster, a level 10, you can special it out and then pop two cards you control, and then put two continuous Ryu-Ge spells from your deck onto the field. That's what this does. Quick play spell, search, and then you can kind of like double search and then put a pendulum monster from your hand. It's really weird. So it can go right to your extra deck rather than getting it to your hand, but you like probably always want to get it to your hand. So the second effect probably won't matter a lot of the time, but it can, I guess. Second effect's actually pretty good during the main phase. If you control a pendulum, so the ritual itself is the only pendulum, you can banish it, the special one from your deck, but you can only use one effect per turn. If it was both effects, this might have been actually pretty good, but you can only use one effect per turn. So as a strike list here, this is probably the best card of the archetype in my opinion, which is the field spell. When it's activated, you take a dinosaur, sea serpent, and worm, add one to your deck, send one to the graveyard, and banish one. There is like the restriction is that you can only summon dragon, dinosaur, sea serpent, and worms for the rest of the turn, but it's actually not that bad of a restriction if you think that there's good worms, dinosaurs, sea serpents, and dragons. Spoiler alert, there's just not. Like, none that make this worth playing, at least. The worst one probably being sea serpent. Sea serpent is abysmal. It's crazy how bad the sea serpent pool is. But yeah, and then the second effect is if you have the, what's it called? The ritual in the face-up extra deck, you can special summon 3 of the Ryu-Ge monsters from different types from the deck, graveyard, and banishment. So it's kind of like a little mini soul charge. So if you are doing it pure, you usually use the first effect to set them all up, and then use the second effect to then bring them all out. So you get 3 level 10s. Again, this is the best card of the archetype by far. It's just everything else falls flat. Actually, these 3 are the best cards of the archetype. These actually give it a decent form of identity, consistency, and it's actually what I like about the archetype is these 3 cards. They all search, they special from deck, extremely powerful field spell, they have good follow-up. The lack of interruptions is what we're missing here, right? But this is where the deck completely falls off for me. I just needed these Ryu-Ge monsters to do literally anything, and they don't, and it's so frustrating. So the 3 monsters all have a continuous spell that goes with them. So there's water, and then the water continuous spell, earth continuous spell, and then wind continuous spell. If they're in the monsters are in your hand, you can do a thing with them and then be able to search their spell. So the wind one, you banish it to search its spell. The earth one, you send it back to the deck to search its spell. The water one, you send it to the graveyard to search its spell. So that's very easy. Then if they are in their respective places that they go from that, except for the earth one, earth from the hand, if a certain condition is met, they can special summon themselves out from that place. I know I'm like saying that kind of weirdly, but if you understand what I'm saying, so the wind one, for instance, banishes itself to search the green one. Then if 2 other things are banished while he is banished, he can special summon himself out. So the Earth one is if a thing is destroyed on the field, you can special summon it from the hand. The water one is if two or more things have been sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard, you can special it out from the graveyard. So yeah, it's like, again, they're cool. They can move around nicely, but they don't actually do anything. Now they're dependent on how good the spells are. And I can guarantee you these spells are not good, sadly. So, whoa, pause. Completely missed actual and effect on each of these monsters. That is important, but not important because these cards are still terrible. Very quickly, I need to mention this because someone's in the comments is going to chew me out for it if I don't go back and mention this. So all these monsters also have an additional effect that I completely forgot about. They all have an effect to return their own continuous spell back into the deck as well to then do X thing. This one searches a Ryu-Ge card from your deck to your hand. This one, destroy cards your opponent controls up to the number of Ryu-Ges that you have. And this one, I don't even know what this one does. What's it called? You can banish your opponent's entire hand, and then if they do, they draw the same number of cards. Awesome. That's super useful. So, yeah, just something else that is super irrelevant. Does not matter if this deck's bad. Thank you. Goodbye. So, unfortunately, the spells actually do nothing. These are the forms of interruption that you get out of this deck. All of them do different little continuous effects. They are so bad, I'm not even going to mention them. The best one is probably the wind one, because it's like a worse defissure, where it's like things sent from only the field are banished. Monsters only sent from the field are banished, so you can't even like counter a runic deck with it. But then they all have a second effect that gives a bonus effect to the ritual or their archetypal correspondence. So the wind one will give the wind one an effect, the water one will give the water one the effect, and the earth one will give the earth one effect, as well as the ritual for all of them. So the ritual can get all three of them. That is the premise of the deck. So the water one, you're able to place a face-up continuous spell in the bottom of the deck, target a card in the field, return it to the hand. So it's a quick effect. So it's actually nice. It's probably the best one in my opinion as an interruption type card. The earth one, once per turn, when the effect of a monster is activated with less attack, you can return a continuous spell you control at the bottom of the deck and negate the activation. Probably the second best one, and then the wind one being the worst one, where you can place one continuous spell in the bottom of the deck and then make a monster attack 0. So that's it for the monsters and the spells. I know it's super convoluted, but these things have a cajillion amount of text on them, and that is probably the easiest way to describe them. And then lastly, the trap card, which you can play if you want to. I'm actually just going to read this because I've never played it before. Special summon one Ryu-Ge monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard by returning to the hand during the end phase. You can banish this card from your graveyard, target one Ryu-Ge continuous spell and you control or in your graveyard, place it at the bottom of the deck, draw a card. That's all it does. Not that great. That's really not that great for this deck. It's like a very whatever effect. That is every Ryu-Ge card that we have currently. Now, the problem is, I don't know if you've noticed this, 7 out of these 10 cards are just bricks. They don't do anything on their own. They barely combo together if like at all. So like if you just eliminate these first 3, none of these do anything together at all. They're so bad. It's crazy how bad these cards are. Now, you're probably thinking like, oh, Jared, this isn't meant to be like maybe like a one deck by itself, which in itself is frustrating because I feel like that it's a deck building set, so you should be able to build a deck out of the deck building set. That's at least somewhat usable. It's just not. It's really just not. It's so dependent on these 3 cards. And when I say these 3 cards, I really mean the field spell, because the field spell is the only one thing that actually does anything. These 2 cards just get to the field spell. And even when you do that, it's just so easily interruptible with like a million things. You can bell it, you can ash it, you can ogre it. There's a gajillion problems with this card as well. But the problem is it's all lines lead to this. And even when you do resolve it, it's still not even that good. So now getting into what people are trying to mix it with. So this is where you start getting into the argument where you can play these certain types with other archetypes, and they kind of have some kind of sort of synergistic value with them. So you can play with the worms, with Sword Soul, right? You can play the dinosaur one with the dinosaur card with the baby Zerosaurus. He also destroys, which is very nice. You get some extra value out of him. And the Sea Serpent one is not played with anything because Sea Serpent sucks. But the point is, there is people mixing these cards with other archetypes as well. And the problem with this is, again, is these cards just make the deck worse. Like, I would rather just play a pure Sword Soul deck, especially with the Supreme Darkness support, with the new Tenyi cards coming out, than play these stupid Ryu-Ge cards. They just don't do anything. The value of them is just awful. You have to play like at least like 3 bricks with them if you're including them. And in Sword Soul Tenny, you don't want to play these bad bricks in them. You already have plenty of good cards to play. The deck's not hit here. We have Protos to 1. That's the only hit we have to a worm deck. Same thing with Dinosaur. Like Dinosaur is already a deck notorious for bricking. Why would I put an engine that's more bricks in it? That just doesn't make sense. It's so much worse. Like, I wasn't worried about the Dinosaur ceiling. I'm worried about it bricking. I need to be like, Dolka is already a hell of a card. Lagi is already a hell of a card. UTC is a hell of a card. I need better cards to get to them and more consistency cards than like just more bricks to be able to like maybe like fart out of Ryu-Ge before you do the other inconsistency parts. They just don't make sense even from like a logistic standpoint of making them. I just don't understand I genuinely don't understand what Konami wants us to do with these in any capacity, because I feel like even they have to know that these cards just don't make sense. Now, I am hopeful that this is going to be something like Memento, where these cards are going to get a support card or two and maybe make it feasible. Again, I don't know how they would do it. I'm not a card designer. I'm sure there's people who can figure out some custom card thing that would maybe make this deck more playable on its own, because that's what I want personally. But even if it could be able to be mixed better with other stuff, that'd be cool too. But the main thing is that, like, I don't even know how you would fix this deck, because these three are so bad to me. Like, you would need maybe another spell that works kind of like the field spell, that you can do something with these 3 cards to set them up better. Because even in the own archetype, you can't trigger their effects to special summon through its own archetype. You have to combine it with something to like even try, or like there's like some convoluted ways where you can do it, but it's not good at any mean. Like, I really mean that. And again, even if you want the bare minimum in this deck, you have to put at least 6 bricks in here to be able to play it. So it's super frustrating. Again, which really sucks. I really need to preface, I thought this art was sick. This looked awesome. This ritual monster looks cool. White Dragon Ritual with this type of art looks so cool. All of their art, honestly, big fan of them. They look awesome. These cards look great. And I think that's why it really, like, sucks, because I really wanted this to be good. And it's just, sadly, like, look at this, dude. Like, this is so good. Like, this art is beautiful. And I can't even, like, appreciate it as much as I want to, because I can't even play it. Or I can't even bring myself to play it, because it's so bad. But let me know what you guys think down below. Again, I know I said I wasn't going to make a video about this, but I feel like I just have to get this off my chest, because I just can't. Like, I feel like the post wasn't verified enough, and I couldn't get my true feelings out there. And yeah, so I just want, again, any thoughts or concerns or what you think about this deck down below, I would greatly appreciate it. But we already know the rarities of this deck, and the only full ultra is this thing. I think it's like reason number 800 why I think that Konami knows that this deck is just such a flop already, because they didn't even try rarity bumping anything in it besides this card. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Take something away from this, that yeah, this deck's just rough, man. It's a rough one. So yeah, hopefully I will see you in the next video with hopefully new deck profiles and something positive, because there is decks I am looking forward for. One of them being, if you follow me on Twitter, you will know. Please follow me on Twitter if you are not already. But this deck is being one of them. I love the new Necros cards. And these cards are the perfect example of, like, I don't think these cards are going to be the most competitive, but they are definitely a step and give a direction towards above this by far, by a mile. And these cards are definitely going to be more casual. I'm getting them because I love them. These cards are awesome. I love the direction that they go. The Necros Ritual Monsters are awesome looking. It's almost like I love Ritual Monsters. They're cool. So yeah. So enough of it. I'm done ranting. I can't rant anymore. So again, hope you guys enjoy. Please take care, stay positive, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.